Welcome to Sober and Lit,
the podcast for women who want to get sober, stay sober, and live a life that's way more lit than it ever was with wine.
We're your hosts, Ruby and Susan, two alcohol freedom coaches keeping it real with stories, tools, and zero judgment.
Whether you're sober curious or all in, you're in the right place.
Let's feel lit, alcohol free.
Hello, welcome to the Sober and Lit podcast. I am so excited to be here. I'm Coach Susan. I'm here with Coach Ruby, and we have a special guest today, Kristen Baer. And I'm going to introduce Kristen and then we'll jump into her story. Kristen Baer is an actor, writer, and sobriety hype girl. And that's how I found her. She is the founder of Creative Sobriety, which is a multi-platform resource for anyone looking to shift their mindset around alcohol and looking for an alternative to traditional recovery language. After getting sober in February 2020, Kristen went on a mission to find others championing sobriety by choice. Through social media, she's been able to connect with people all over the world who agree that sobriety is the ultimate upgrade. Kristen believes creativity is paramount to healing, and we are all innately creative beings. She splits her time between San Francisco and her tiny shipping container home in rural Tennessee. So I'm so excited to have you here. I'm kind of a fangirl, and I'm obviously fangirling all over and stepping all over my words here.
So happy to be here with you guys today. This is an honor. I appreciate it.
I started following you on Instagram, and I'm right behind you in sobriety. My date is June 2020, and Ruby also was the spring, right? Or winter
2019.
Oh, 2019. So you're ahead of us a little bit, but yeah, all around kind of the same time. And so I just wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about your sobriety story and what led you to choose to get sober.
Yeah. Wow. Where do we start, right? I think like a lot of people, a lot of women, you know, we just kind of grew up with this thing as a rite of passage into womanhood. It was just sort of expected, right? That this is something that accompanies every sophisticated, ambitious woman. Like you're out, you're moving and grooving, you're going on dates, I lived in New York, I lived in LA, and I was working in the entertainment industry. And so there was just always parties and always people and always this expectation, right, to be a good time. So that was the very normal part of my drinking. I think the darker side to that was that I learned pretty quickly as like a young woman, late teens, early 20s, that alcohol was sort of this off switch for negative emotions, negative experiences, things I didn't want to listen to, face, sit with. And it just really became my coping mechanism for everything, like normal human feelings like insecurity, anxiety, and then bigger, deeper things like trauma and fear, heartbreak, these kinds of things. And so but you look up and one day you realize like, this is the thing you reach for. But the problem with that, right, is the effect that it starts to have on your mental health, your ability to form, deep lasting connections and your physical appearance, all of these things sort of culminated for me around the end of 2019. And a lot of things in my life were going wrong. I was living in LA at the time. I had been taking acting classes and kind of doing that whole thing and working in a restaurant. And the relationship I was in at the time sort of ended in a big kaboom fireball. And I was just very unhappy. I was very discontent with myself, with my life, with just the way I was showing up. And it took some time. It took some kind of running away from all of that and meandering around to finally get to this moment in late February of 2020, where I basically woke up and I had this sort of epiphany. And it was like every bone in my body recognized that, I could either continue doing what I had been doing, drinking, partying, using this thing in my life as a crutch for everything, or I could see what my full potential was. Like there was no secret third choice. And I knew that with every fiber of my being. And so it just really shook me. And I remember that morning just sort of like surrendering to that idea of if you're going to do these things you really want to do in life, you're going to have to stop doing this one thing, you know? And it was an acceptance. And I just knew, okay, yeah, we're going to try and move a different way. And so I decided I was going to get sober. I didn't even really call it that. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew I wasn't going to drink, and I wasn't going to do that for a while. And so long story short, I also knew I wanted to do it in a non-traditional way. You know, I wanted to find something that I could grab onto that felt super positive and exciting. And like, I wanted to feel like I was making this really powerful choice, that this wasn't some sort of consequence for, you know, failed behavior or, you know, any kind of like moral failing or something like that. I really needed to feel empowered. And so I went searching for people, women specifically, talking about it. And I found Sober Instagram, and, you know, it was smaller than it is now, you know, 5.5 years ago, but there were people just kind of talking like, yeah, I'm sober curious. I'm living this lifestyle, and it's really fun, and it's sexy, and it's cool. And that intrigued me. And so I started my own account as really a way to like connect with more sober people and kind of stalk all of these women that I really was like idolizing online, because I didn't want to tell people yet that I was sober. So I wanted to create this whole separate account from my personal account. And that became Creative Sobriety, because I got more confidence with every month that went by, and I started feeling so good. I wanted to share all of that. I wanted to scream from the rooftops, you know, like, oh my God, stop drinking. Like, it's so much better this way, you know? And here we are, and I can't shut up about it. So.
Oh, I love Wow. Yeah. Well, that's what it's so funny. We talk about this all the time. Nobody we talk to who's gotten sober is like, it's okay. It's always like, this was the best decision I ever made. And I agree. I feel the same way. And I know Ruby agrees. And to your point, so many actors, you know, the influencers that are out there say the same thing that you just said, is that I couldn't reach my true potential if I was drinking. And so but that goes to everyone. You don't have to be an actor or an influencer. Every person has something that they have a purpose for in life, and alcohol keeps you from that purpose. It really does. I truly believe on a spiritual, physical level, you are not 100% if you have alcohol in your life on a regular basis.
Yeah. Out of everything you just said, that not living up to my full potential was what hit me too. I totally relate, Kristen. And, you know, it was like abandoning myself every day, just, you know, becoming a zombie. I mean, I was drinking every day. I know some people are binge drinkers or every once in a while, but I ended up, because it just to me got worse and worse and worse. And I was in the wine industry, and I just ended up drinking every day. Yeah. And not living up to my full potential, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I think I was working at this restaurant in LA that was a natural wine bar. And that was like this huge focus, right? We had to learn everything about this wine, and it was like cool and trendy and like, you know, so I really justified the way that I was drinking with like, oh, but I'm drinking these really nice wines. I'm drinking this really like organic, natural wine. And looking back, I mean, my God, like there was nothing normal or, you know, benign about the way I was doing any of that. But it's really easy to fall into that world and into that mindset of like, no, this is totally fine. This is, you know, what everyone around me is doing, and this is the industry I'm in. And so all of that was very real. And I was also drinking, you know, I was picking up a bottle of wine on my way home every night, and the energy behind that just grew darker and darker. And like,
yeah. Yes, I can relate to that. I wanted to bring up that you are a writer, and a wonderful writer, and you were featured in After Magazine. This is your beautiful essay, and your essay is titled What I Would Tell Her. And it really hit home for me about the expectations on women to be perfect and how hard we are on ourselves. And that definitely played a role in my drinking. I tried to be perfect and failed. And the more I failed, the more relief I needed from that hustle culture and my own inner critic. And I needed alcohol to be an off switch from that. And there was a quote from the essay that I wanted to read, which is, I wanted to grab back some of my power. I cannot be controlled, she whispered to herself as she picked up the same sad bottle of Sauvignon Blanc from the corner liquor mart in West Hollywood. No, my love, that's just self-destruction. Moonlighting is liberation. I mean, I would stop at the same sad, dingy, out of the way liquor store because I didn't want to go. Like, I would hop around and do different ones. And when you said the same sad bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so me. Like that. And it was just, it was sad. And I went and did it, and I would drive home, and I knew I was going to drink it. I remember even at one point I was praying. I'm like, God, I know I bought it and I'm going to drink it. And I kind of felt like I heard God go, it's okay. Maybe next time. Like, I was trying so hard to like control this behavior, you know, and yeah. So you're such a great writer. I love this essay. What would you tell her, that young, or I was 55 when I quit, so, or older woman questioning her drinking? What would you tell her?
Well, I think as women, like you said, there is this pressure that it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter whether a high-powered work environment or you're not. Like, there's just so much pressure put on women to be comfortable in any room that she walks into. We're expected, you know, to kind of put everybody else at ease in a way that men are not. I'm sorry. It's true. So, yeah, I think, you know, we don't have that same entitlement of I belong here, I'm taking up space here, that men do. And I found myself always challenging that, always wanting to push back on that, always wanting to take up space where I felt so small. And I really used alcohol as a way to do that because it was like an equalizer. It was like something that I could pick up at any party, at any event, and feel like I was on an equal playing field with people who were trying to take my space from me, you know, kind of thing. What I would tell her is that that's just something you were sold, right? Like, you never needed that. You are actually, you, the woman, you hold the entire universe within you. Okay, sister? So like, you never needed anything extra. It was just a sales tactic, and it's worked for a really long time, just like lipstick and skincare and yoga pants, you know, but it's not something that you need. And when you start showing up without it, there is this kind of confidence and power that you gain as a woman that is just unmatched and absolutely cannot be taken away from you.
I love that. It's like playing big in your life, right? And when I was drinking alcohol, I was playing so small. I was getting more isolated and not living up to that full potential. And this is how you play big in life. This is how you really live up to the true you, what is inside you. I love everything you're saying, Kristen.
Yeah, it's important. You know, I think women need to see other women being honest about this stuff too, which is why I'm so, you know, glad and grateful that you guys do what you do, and why it's important to me to talk about it, because until we see it and we see a woman like speaking openly about these things, that's where shame breeds, you know, when we don't bring it out into the light and say, hey, like, I struggle with this thing too. This is how I felt. So it's important what you're doing.
Yeah. That was what really helped me, is when I finally saw other people like me too. Because we talk about this on the podcast, but my first rodeo was I went to AA back in 2012, 13, because there wasn't really any other options. And that was, at that time, I knew my drinking was more than the, you know, recommended amount, but I still didn't know that alcohol was an addictive substance. I still didn't really, I knew that it could cause breast cancer, or played a role in that. But, you know, I didn't know what I know now about alcohol. And that's what I just want to get that information out there. Like, there's still people who choose to smoke, but we all know it's addictive, and we all know it causes cancer, and, you know, it's really not good for your health. That same message about alcohol is starting to get out there, and it needs to. It absolutely needs to, you know, because it's true. And the other thing that you said that I love so much was about taking up space is when we are our authentic selves and we show up fully as ourselves and not under the glaze of alcohol or feeling like we need that as our prop. You know, when I work with clients and they're just like, oh no, I have social anxiety. I'm like, you watch, you may still have social anxiety, but you still will be able to show up in a better and a different, more authentic and powerful way without alcohol. You just don't know that yet because you started using it in high school, right? And it became your thing of like, oh, I need this to be popular, social. And it's such a hard thing to get over and think, can you socialize without alcohol? And I think it's one of the most powerful things that I do is going places. I love to go places, boozy places, and do it without alcohol. It just feels fun to me. I don't know. It's a little bit of my rebel.
It is fun. And it's super empowering. Like, I don't even think about it now. And that's what I would say too, whoever's listening. It's you think, how am I supposed to do A, B, C, and D without the booze and without my little trusty, drink of choice that I can order and it's in my hand like that. And the answer is that you just do it. Like, step by step, you do it the first time and then it gets easier and easier. And then before you know it, it is very natural. It is very normal. It's just because we haven't operated like that before that it seems so foreign, right? And like we can't even envision a life without that thing. But yeah, it makes me feel so powerful. And it's like women are expected to perform in all these ways. Like, and just taking that element off the table of I'm not performing. I'm going to show up and this is who I am. And I'm not going to filter that. I'm not going to curate that, to fit the mood. There's something really freaking badass about that. I mean, so.
Yeah, I love that word too. Badass, right? Susan and I use that a lot. And it's like, it creates this, it reminds me of like a revolution, right? Or, I feel like we are badasses that get alcohol free. We are the cool people. We are on the leading edge. This is a sober revolution.
Yes, I do see it. I see it really, this modern sobriety movement is what I often call it, because it's more than just, we're getting sober. We're in recovery, right? We're not speaking in those terms anymore. I think this is like a collective awakening that we're seeing where people are just looking for more intentionality in their lives. They're really sick of being sold surface level, smoke and mirrors, everything, right? I just think everybody is really hungry for authentic experience. And the blinders are coming off on so many things. And alcohol is just naturally a part of that because it is this very surface level thing, right? And yeah, I think it's a collective awakening around wellness and what's good for us and choosing what we put into our bodies and the kind of environments we want to be in. I think the younger generation, Gen Z, they aren't drinking. Like,
that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Right? So it's not just millennials. It's not just Gen X. It's literally this kind of trickle down effect. And I think the generations coming up, they're much more concerned and conscious about how they treat their bodies, how they treat the earth. And that is, I think, very naturally making its way into substances and the way that we interact with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think kids tend to want to do the opposite of what their parents do. And their parents are drinking. Their parents are drinking too much. And kids don't like that. When I work with clients and they have teenagers, the people that are their biggest champion are their kids. They're so glad that their mom stopped drinking.
Yeah. Yeah. They saw the big, craft cocktail boom in the early aughts and then daddy had a midlife crisis. So it's like, yeah, they've been witness to this thing. And also something that's really interesting to me is a young woman that I spoke with a few months ago said, Gen Z, and because of social media, they have this very immediate cause and effect on things that are bad for us, and like seeing the immediate consequences of things that we didn't have because we didn't have social media and the news cycle wasn't as, 24/7 and immediate as it is now. So even things like vaping, Gen Z has seen the immediacy of like, now everybody's doing this. And then on the flip side, now we know this is bad for you. So they're very conscious of the kind of immediate consequences of substances. Whereas, we had the DARE officer come to school when I was in the 5th grade and be like, don't do drugs. But we didn't see pictures of people on the internet whose lives were imploding because they drank wine every night, but now that's a real thing.
Yeah. And, they still have DARE. And do you know, this killed me. They did a fundraiser for DARE, and it was a cocktail fundraiser in my town. I was just like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Because they still don't put alcohol in the drug category. Is that crazy?
Insane.
It's insanity.
It's insane. Where it's everywhere around drinking and raising kids. It's like PTA meetings, like everything. I feel like everything I did when I was raising my son had alcohol involved. So it's crazy. I think it's becoming more aware. It is. I think it is. I like that phrase, like alcohol, maybe this is the new cigarette, right? We're starting to like get that blinders off a little bit, and that it's not just, it's so not so the words you use were like sophisticated, and it's all about a good time. But we're starting to really, like you said, on social media, seeing the reality that people are not living up to their full potential. And we also talk that it's a beauty, right? It really, we look younger, less wrinkles. It is the secret to looking younger, I think, and feeling better.
100%. Yeah. It's like the fastest way to age yourself is drinking, truly. And the fastest way to reverse that is to quit, and a lot of people don't want to hear it, but
mic drop.
The results speak for themselves. I look younger than I did when I quit drinking. So
yeah, me too.
And so, yeah, people don't want to hear that, but it is true. It's like you cannot out serum damage from alcohol or cigarettes. You can't work out the belly, the wine belly, which I see, on people that I know that drink, and myself included at the time. Yeah. Because my drinking really started getting problematic in my 40s, really. Before that, I didn't really drink that much. When I did drink, I always drank too much. But I didn't really realize it was a problem because I didn't drink that often, if that makes sense. It was kind of like, oh, I can't hold my liquor, but once I started drinking it on the regular and there was a big difference. Ruby, my son is the same age as Ruby, but my daughter's older, and there's a 6-year age difference. And there was definitely not the mommy wine culture when my daughter was young. And I could tell a big difference. That I would take my son to like his t-ball games and stuff, and all the moms were bringing their Yeti cups with wine in it. And it was funny because I didn't really indulge in that because I was always worried about driving, etc. But I wanted to. There was like this part of me that felt left out and felt like, ooh, I'm not like with all the cool moms because I'm not drinking, but it was still not part of what I did. Oh, it's so weird that I had those thoughts. So I get it. I get how easily you can be sucked into that.
Yeah. It's so infuriating to me, the mommy wine culture stuff. And, just like how demeaning to tell a woman that the most natural thing in the world that she could do, like raise her child, is she can't do it without booze. It's like, there's this push, back in the pandemic during 2020, we saw all of those awful ads for like directed at mothers who are stuck at home with their kids who are already just like going through hell, just like having to battle that and being sold like, pour champagne in your Tropicana orange juice.
Right.
Hide it in the closet. It's okay. And oh my God. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the whole Tropicana.
Yes. And the sobriety community pushed back and they took the commercial down.
They did.
Which is amazing. So that's like, we're talking revolution here, people.
Yes, we are rebels. We're going against the grain, and I love it. I feel like I was a part of the industry, working in the industry, and having that messaging, and it was a lot focused on women. It really was. The alcohol industry, it's the pretty women, and then you must have, wine tasting events or when you go out, and it's just, we are sold as women quite a bit. And it's about all of the things that you're talking about, Kristen.
Do you think that started around in the aughts, like in the late 90s and the aughts? That's about the timing where I think I started seeing it with
directly targeting women.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think like if we think back to, liquor ads, beer ads, even in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, it's always been about women, because there's always been, whether it's a sexy girl in a bikini in the Bacardi ad, that's for the male gaze, sure. But it's also directed at women, because it's also showing a woman, this is the elevated ideal version of yourself. She's got a bottle of Bacardi in her hand. Do you know what I mean? So it's like using that imagery of women to sell this thing. And it's not just to men, it's to women too. And it's always been that. I think it was like this huge campaign of alcohol ads was kind of begun as this pushback to the feminist movement in a way, because it was like women were, we're here, we're feminists, we're taking up space, we're equal. And it was like, okay, well, then you're going to drink like a man. We're going to sell you this thing. So there's a little bit of that in there. And I'm not going to go off into the weeds on this, I promise. But, it's relevant, I think. It's like,
it felt like a badge of honor too. I can drink like, I can keep up with the men. I can drink as much as them. Especially when I was working or going to work events, I had to match it. And a lot of women are smaller. We metabolize alcohol differently. It's a different animal in our systems. And it's proven we become women addicted to alcohol faster than men.
Yeah. And it's also sex and booze, putting the two together. And it's sexy and it's cool and it's sophisticated. That's what the hook was for me. It was sophisticated. I wanted to have my wine or my Cosmo with Sex in the City. Even though I was a mom at that time, I still was like watching Carrie going, I wish I could be her.
Yeah. That show, I think, got a lot of people drinking more. Yeah. Cosmos. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true. It's like you need to be this discerning woman, like know your whiskeys, know your wines, know your drinks, and it's just such a shallow, expectation or like goal to have. It's not real life. And, women deserve so much more than that. Right.
Yeah. And then I just think it just keeps you down. So here we are ready to take over the world. And wouldn't we all be so much happier if there were more women in leadership positions in the world? But alcohol just brought us down, right? If you're drinking, if you're not fulfilling your potential, like how many women out there have a purpose in this world to make the world a better place and are not fulfilling that purpose? It doesn't mean it has to be this huge goal, like become president or, president of a company. It's just we all have a part to play. And if we're not living up to our potential, we're not playing our part,
Absolutely.
And that's so sad. Ruby was mentioning how the alcohol industry is actually running a little scared because of the dip in their sales, because of this new sober revolution and the sober curious movement, which is pretty cool, but also kind of weird to feel like we shouldn't be against each other, right?
Yeah. Ruby, what are your thoughts on that? Just coming from the wine industry, what have you noticed?
Well, what I noticed is that they're holding on really tight and they want things to just kind of stay the same. And, that I just wish in my perfect world, if I could that we work together, why not have more alcohol-free beverages? And I feel like that, still have the winery. I mean, I live in wine country. I live in Sonoma County and there's wineries and vineyards everywhere and it is gorgeous, but why not make more really palatable, wines, still wines or non-alcoholic wines, and make it more accessible for this movement to come through? Because if we've got people that are drinking and people that are alcohol free going out to, say, Sonoma County, Napa County for wine tasting, I would love to be able to go with them if I want to and still have some options besides water. and same, these wines can be at restaurants. And so I just feel like we could maybe work together rather than make it like a battle or something. I don't think it's a battle. I don't think alcohol or wine is going away. I just want people to live healthier and be aware of the consequences. Yeah. What do you think, Kristen? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think they've turned it into this us versus them thing. And I think they thought that was the best approach. but I think it's going to backfire. And I think we're seeing that, it's like, if these major, alcohol conglomerates, wine and industry execs, et cetera, had spent the amount of time that they've spent trying to demonize the modern sobriety movement on innovating and making new, innovative, delicious, non-alcoholic options, I think they would have done themselves a service,
Yeah.
But instead, they've been churning out what seems to be this collectively agreed upon narrative that we are coming to lock up the booze. We are neo-prohibitionists. And that couldn't be further from the truth, right? We just want to have an honest conversation and not be treated like children because we don't want alcohol, right?
Yes. Yeah. I hate it when I order. Well, number one, when mocktails are just juice, or I hate even the word mocktail, but, and when you get them served in a water glass with a straw, that is just like, oh, thanks. Where's my high chair? It's the worst. And so that happened at one restaurant. We were just in Gunquit, Maine for my birthday week, and at one restaurant, and they brought it, and my daughter's looking at me. She goes, "You look disappointed." And I'm like, well, I am. And then on my birthday, we went to this other restaurant, and she ordered the drink for me, and she said, "In a pretty glass." And he brought it to me, and it had some African violets in it, and it was in a gorgeous glass, and it was perfect. She's like, "See, Mom, you just have to ask for what you want."
Aw.
True, but you shouldn't have to. So, but it was still kind of just juice, but at least it was pretty juice. But I mean, when I see wine by the glass that's alcohol free on the menu, I just go nuts. And I did find that, oddly enough, at some restaurants in like South Portland, Maine, you never know where they're going to turn up, and I know there's a lot of places in New York and San Francisco where you can actually get a glass of alcohol free wine at a restaurant, which that's what I really want, to see more.
Me too. And I like to see a thoughtful non-alcoholic cocktail menu, because I'm with you. I hate the word mocktail. I hate, faux anything, like the insinuation that we need like some sort of like counterfeit version of a thing. It's like, I don't want to pretend anything. I just want a real adult drink that does not have alcohol. So that should not be hard, in 2025. But I think it's just going to take a little bit of time, but we're moving in that direction,
Absolutely. Yeah.
See it too, Ruby. Like, I'm sure in places, even in Sonoma, like, are you seeing non-alcohol on menus?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even in small restaurants now, I'm surprised. I feel like, in my personal opinion is that I think the NA beer is tastes better to me than some of the NA wines I've ordered, but I think it's getting better. Yes. But I just want to support it. So whenever I see it on the menu, I'll order, if it's a mocktail or non-alc cocktail or whatever, I want to support it, or I'll even ask for it, right? If it's not there, I'm like, hey, I would have ordered this. You just missed out.
Yeah. And that's the truth. I don't know if restaurants and the industry realizes with this sober revolution, a lot of times the people picking the restaurants are the people like in the early days, the vegetarians. We'd all, if you're going somewhere and you have a vegetarian in your party, you're going to pick a restaurant that has an option for that person. And it's the same with a sober person now. So when my family goes out, they want to pick a place that they know has a non-alcoholic menu for me that I'm going to enjoy. My daughter does that in New York all the time. She always looks and picks a restaurant that's going to, have something for me. And so not only we're bringing just not ourselves, but our whole family or whoever's in our party to their establishment if they have these options. And I think that it's a really important thing for the hospitality industry to understand is that, we're not going away.
And we're a very, discerning group of people. Like we're the same people who for a really long time would go to these restaurants and get drink pairings and spend $150 on a meal. We still want to do that. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
We're still those people. We just now want to be offered something that we can have that's comparable, right? With no alcohol. And so I do think the hospitality groups are picking up on this. I think there's a ways to go, but I think they're starting to get it, we just don't want to be served juice, and we want to be able to go and spend our dollars and spend time with our people and have a good time just like anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be at the rowdy table, and we'll remember to tip. And right.
Not going to cause any problems, you know?
No problem. So one of the things that was in your bio that I really loved is about creativity and how that has helped your sobriety. And I know you're an actor and you're an awesome writer. You have a wonderful Substack where you post your essays. How has creativity supported your sobriety?
It is, to me, it is everything. Because what I discovered was one of the reasons that I was so unhappy and drinking the way that I was towards the end was that I did not have a consistent outlet for myself. I wasn't putting out creative work anymore. I wasn't just making my own space for creativity, right? And I think that sometimes the opposite of addiction is expression. You know, I think a lot of times we carry around all this stuff and we really just want to say it. We really just want to express it. We really just want a place where we can like see it outside of ourselves somewhere and it's not just suffocating us. And that was my experience. And so what I found was that when I quit drinking and I quit smoking weed and I quit doing all the things, I opened up sort of the spiritual highway, what I call it, which is source to intuition, which to me is creativity. It's where it comes from, right? To me, it's a very spiritual thing. It's like it's a sacred sort of connection in my mind, you know? And when you're clogging that up with this toxicity of drugs and alcohol, it's very difficult to keep that flowing, right? And so I just think that sobriety really expands creativity. And we've been sold this idea of like, you know, the tortured artist trope and, you know, Hemingway with a glass of whiskey, like wasting away. And we romanticize that. But the truth is that's an exception. That's somebody who was able to produce something that became, you know, what it is. But that's not the reality, right? The reality is that alcohol sucks us dry of that creative spirit. And what I found was that I was able to access so much more of that within myself in sobriety. And I've been able to create so much more. I just have a follow through now that did not exist.
Right. Start things and not finish. Yeah.
I mean, all the time. And the quality of my work is just a lot better, truly. And I feel more connected to that part of myself.
So you mentioned writing. What other creative outlets are you talking about here? Anything else?
Well, I am an actor. I've been doing that thing since my mid-20s. And, you know, I'm definitely more focused on writing now. I really enjoy being on Substack. It's just been a really cool place for me to kind of expand a lot of the stuff that I began talking about on Creative Sobriety, but to just go deeper and offer, you know, like long form content for people because, you know, everybody's kind of like incentivized and motivated with different forms, you know, of content. And so I hope that this will find people who are in sobriety or looking to get sober who really enjoy words and reading, you know, essays, narrative nonfiction and things like that. And so I love that. I love expressing myself, and writing for me has been so healing to just sort of put some of those things like I was talking about, to see them outside of myself. And some things I publish and some things I don't, but you know, it's a beautiful way to kind of just tell the truth about things that for so long I kept buried, right? And it kept me drunk and sick.
I love seeing that when I work with people or even in myself. Yeah. But when all of a sudden they get back to, I said, what did you used to do in your childhood? Like to de-stress or to upshift or downshift, you know, what brought you joy? And then they're like, I used to draw or I used to paint. And then they start doing that again. And it's so beautiful.
I love that.
The things we don't do because all we do is sit around and drink.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, it's just it's terrible. We've just outsourced all our joy, all of our, social, all of our activities to alcohol. Everything is this plus wine. Even if we're doing something, it's that plus wine, right? We couldn't possibly, go do that without alcohol, It infiltrates everything. But once you get it out of your life, then you start to discover you have time for so much more.
Right.
Absolutely.
And discover those joys and glimmers and things you used to love to do. I love that. So I have to ask, I know this is, but is there anything that you've done acting that I would know? Or is that not a question? I didn't even.
Honestly, probably not.
Okay.
I do a lot of commercials.
Okay, I'll look for you.
You might see me in a JCPenney commercial right now that's running, but I've done like some smaller parts in TV and film.
Cool.
But nothing that I'm like, you guys are really got to check out my role in this show.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done some indie films and one that we're hoping to get onto a streaming platform maybe later this year. So then I might have
very cool.
A little meatier that I could send you towards. But yeah,
okay,
it's fun. It's something that I enjoy doing with my friends. We make a lot of stuff kind of, in an indie kind of way. We make sketches and short films and don't even put it all out. It's just kind of fun to maybe submit it to festivals or use it in our acting reels. But I just enjoy working with other creative people and that kind of collaborative energy of, working on a short film or, sitting in a writing class. Like I can't express to people listening, like, if you think you're not creative, first of all, you were born creative. Like a human being is a creative being, right?
Yeah, we're born to create, literally. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So don't overthink it, really. Just, allow yourself to follow your curiosity and just make something weird, make something that makes no sense, but just get it out, and then that will lead you to the next thing and the next thing. And it's cathartic and it's a beautiful thing.
I was a theater major at UCLA. I had an agent. I was in LA in my 20s doing the thing, just like you, and going to auditions. And I did a few commercials and then we moved here to Connecticut. I'm in Connecticut. And then I had kids and I did some theater in the area and then taught acting for a while and voice lessons and children's theater once my kids were up, and I've really gotten away from it, but I feel like the podcast is kind of my expression right now. But sometimes I do have these funky ideas and I love your sense of humor. I love how edgy and fun it is. And I'll do a weird reel or something, but I get so self-conscious. I guess just because social media and Instagram isn't like, I didn't grow up with it or anything. Yeah. Like I did this post after watching White Lotus. I was like walking through the neighborhood going, I wonder how the mom on the latest Thai White Lotus would say sober. She would say sober like that. And so then I was just joking around going, what would it be like if she decided she needed a coach and needed to get sober? So I did a little sketch on that. And then I was just so like, oh my God, do I look like a complete dork? But like you said, why not? Like it's there for an instant. People either like it or don't. Really weird.
No, I live for that. Like I want to see every woman saying every unhinged thing she thinks in her head out loud on the internet. I am so for that because it makes us So who cares? You know what I mean? I always get something out of like putting something weird out there that I'm like, I don't know. People are probably going to think this is cringy as hell, but it's like, it does something for me. So that's enough, It's like, go for it.
You're right. Yeah. You're right. And that's why I love your stuff because I'm just like, oh, this is weird and funky. And I don't know, it relates to my weird and funkiness, It's like,
well, Kristen, we're at the part of our podcast where we always ask our guests, what do you do in your daily life or practices to feel lit, alcohol free? Is there something you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, I would say doing something creative every day is important for me. Whether it's making, like we said, a silly Instagram video, TikTok video, writing something, sharing something, that gives me this boost that I like of serotonin or dopamine or whatever it is that I need. I do a lot of hot yoga, which is literally.
Me too.
Okay, cool.
Almost every day. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could go every day. I would go every day. But I love it. I love that feeling of like pushing my body to a physical limit and just sweating every demon out of my soul. So that's super important. And then I need to laugh. You know, I surround myself with people who don't take themselves too seriously, and they take the right things seriously. And I can be myself, and you need to laugh. Like, you need humor in your life. Like, there is so much heaviness that I know I have to be around people who can bring out my light side. And it doesn't involve alcohol. It doesn't involve drugs, right? It's just like this feeling of, you know, connecting with a person. Like, human connection is very important to me. And I do spend a lot of time on my own. Like, honestly, I would throw that in there too. Like, being able to sit with your own thoughts and enjoy your own company is something that so many of us didn't do before we quit drinking. So you kind of need a balance of all of those things. So yeah, I have a small circle and I enjoy my solitude, but you know, the people who are around me give me so much energy that yeah, I'm super blessed. I'm super lucky. I can't believe I'm 5.5 years sober. Like, I never in a million years thought this was the life that I was going to be living, but I would not change a minute of it.
That's awesome. I totally concur. This is been such a pleasure. Again, fangirling. You helped me kind of break out of my shell and, you know, get weird on Instagram. But yeah, I never imagined I would be here either. Goodness, in the sober space. And being loud and proud about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Oh, I was I was hiding and driving miles and miles to go to meetings and hoping I wouldn't run into anybody. And that didn't feel good at all. It's so much better just to be out there and be like, yeah, this is me.
Yep.
You know,
this is me.
Yeah. Don't you?
Thanks, Kristen.
This has been such a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So we will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Sober and Lit podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps get the word out.
And remember, do something today to help you feel lit.
See you next week.